G'day everyone, welcome back to another weekly tipping video on the channel. Today I'm going to be going over my tips for round 14. Feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you do go on to enjoy today's video. And as always, let's kick it off with how I went last week. So how I went from round 13, I got myself a 4 out of 8. I think for a lot of people it would have been a ordinary week of tipping given how many upsets there were throughout round 13. But 4 out of 8 in the end, the tips correct being the Hawks, the Swans, the Blues and the Pies. But start off back in the Crows, and I did feel like I wanted to give the Tigers a bit of a chance here, but I was expecting Adelaide to bounce back, but geez, they're just really inconsistent with how they are playing at the moment. The Tigers, though, with their ins, they were able to really get to work in the trenches and pulled out, yeah, a really resilient win away from home. Backed in the Bulldogs, but geez, their inconsistencies have returned once again. I just cannot get a Bulldogs tip correct at the moment. The Lions really outdid them in the midfield, and the Hawks backed them in here. This one was against the Grain, so happy to get that one correct. A bit of controversy at the end though, but that was a ripper of a game to watch. Really back and forth that one was. Went with the Eagles, just can't really tip North Melbourne at the moment, and credit to them, it was a resounding win, and were, I'd say, the better side throughout most of the day. Backed in the Suns over the Saints at Marvel Stadium, one of the worst games of the season to be fair. There was a very, obviously low scoring, but the skills were pretty deplorable and just a lot of slow build up from both teams, and again ended in some controversy. And then for the Sunday and Monday game, I got all of them correct, backed in the Swans, then with the Blues and also the Pies to finish it off, getting a 4 out of 8. Let's have a quick look at my tipping competition now. Well done to 𝐼𝐴𝐻𝐿, who is the only person in my tipping competition that did get themselves a perfect score, 8 out of 8. And as for who is leading my tipping competition, it does say ESPN fan here, but I'm assuming that is Magpies FX, who maintains his spot on top with 100 points. Okay, let's now start with our tips for round 14. So just the 6 games this week, and for the first time this year, the first game of the round is on a Friday. No more Thursday night footy for the rest of the home and away season. Brisbane versus the Saints up there at the Gabba. Well, right off the bat here, you are expecting, given it's at home, the Lions should be the better side here against St Kilda, given they are a very good team at home. But yeah, they've been a very inconsistent side this year, Brisbane. Haven't been able to play at the absolute peak of their powers, unlike the last few years. With their injuries, they haven't really been able to play that cohesive brand they've really would have liked to play this year. But I can tell you what, that win against the Bulldogs would definitely give them plenty of confidence. They got back to their strengths of strong contested ball. They smacked the Bulldogs in their own game of clearances. As for St Kilda, coming off that win against the Gold Coast Suns, as I said earlier, probably one of the worst games to have watched this season. Really just poor skills, not much spark and creativity. It was just a very low scoring game, but they were able to get the better of Gold Coast in the end. And are there any chance here to come up to the Gabba and knock off the Lions? Well, plenty of teams have done it this season. When they are on the Saints, they can be a very good running side on moving the ball from defensive 50 forward. But with the deficiencies St Kilda currently have of not being able to put a lot of points on the board, and just forward of centre as well, the really ugly forward structure, coming up against the Brisbane Lions side, yes, they might be inconsistent, but they still have plenty of firepower. They're playing up there in Brisbane too. I think the Lions should be too strong here for the Saints, so they could give them a bit of a struggle early on, but I expect Brisbane to run away with this and now start to try and pick up some form heading into the second half of the season. So I'll go the Lions by 22 points. For the Saturday games now, first one up, we do have the Bulldogs hosting the Dockers at Marvel Stadium. Fremantle coming off the bye, really wanted to try and smash out this second half of the season and pick up some wins, because I think personally they are a team that could be really under the radar with how they have been playing the last few weeks. Their stoppage game has been some of the best out of any team this season, and can they try and put it to force here against the Bulldogs that were well beaten in and under against the Lions last week? The Bulldogs are expected to get back in Ed Richards, which is a massive inclusion, because look how he's played the last few weeks. He's been huge in their inside game, and his decision making and his foot skills have been really, really influential in the middle of the ground. So his kicking forward to centre will definitely be vital in this contest. Fremantle's ball movement has been questioned throughout the year, but I can tell you what, even when it isn't looking the absolute brightest, they still love to take it on in the middle of the ground and get that high hand pass game going. And of course, we all do know they do like to control the game with that high uncontested style. So the Dogs really ought to try and bring that forward press and not allow too many of those uncontested possessions, put them under the heat. And when the Doggies are up and about, it's the likes of Riley West and Riley Garcia, a few of their smalls and their role players to really put on a bit of scoreboard pressure too. Don't know what Bulldogs I'm going to be anticipating, to be honest. At their best, they can pretty much challenge and beat every single side, but I'm liking Fremantle at the moment. I know they are coming off the bye and could be maybe a little bit shaky like some teams are, but I think they can do a job here over the Bulldogs. I'm liking their midfield at the moment. Their forward structure's now starting to show some form. 𝘬𝐿𝐼 and 𝐼𝐻𝐼𝐸 have been good the last few weeks, so I'll back in the Dockers here away from home, and we'll tip them by 14 points. Next game up, we've got a beauty here. Richmond taking on the Hawks at the MCG. 𝐼𝐻𝐼𝐷𝐼's 300th. This is definitely the headline of this matchup here. What a champion he has been. How does he fare in this game? He's raring to go. He was apparently managed last week, so yeah, he's the big talking point heading into this match. How the Hawks have been playing the last 5, 6, 7 weeks. They're looking like a finals quality side with just their ground level game and the pressure they bring. And their cohesion's really starting to improve now. It's a team now on a really high morale. Every single player is playing their part and playing unselfish play. So do we continue the bandwagon here and keep on tipping the Hawks? I have been able to get a few Hawks tips right the last month or so. So do we back them in here once again? Well, I want to show Richmond a bit of respect heading into this game. I am hearing that Tom Lynch could potentially be coming back into this game, which would just be massive for their forward structure. No Dion Prestia, though, I have been hearing too. But just watching them against the Crows last week, their contested game was really great to watch. Behind the footy, 𝐼𝐻𝐼𝐷𝐼 was terrific intercepting. I think he should be staying defence, not being thrown forward. So with how the Hawks are going at the moment, it's hard to go against them here. But given they are still that young side and there might be a bit of a vulnerability one week or the next, not every single team can play perfect footy. I think this is just the occasion where Richmond, this is just a gut feeling. I am feeling the Tigers in this one. 𝐼𝐻𝐼's 300th, as I said earlier before, I think they can rise to the occasion and find a way to knock off the Hawks here. So a tight contest I reckon this will be, but the Tigers midfields to try and get on top and knock off the Hawks here. And we'll back in the Tigers in a beauty. We'll go Richmond by a goal. For Saturday night footy now, we do have a potential revenge game here for the Adelaide Crows as they face the Sydney Swans once again at the Adelaide Oval. Well, these two sides are definitely the polar opposites of what they were last year. The Crows looking like a finals-worthy side, now struggling as a bottom 4 team, but still do have upside. And as for the Swans, currently sitting 11-1, and daylight the best team in the competition at the moment. Just how they have been playing, they've been a hard team to beat in terms of a 4-quarter effort. You might get them for a quarter or two, but their second halves, the Swans, have been unbeatable pretty much. They're a side that is just gelling really well. They're a team with really high cohesion and chemistry, and they're just a mentally tough team with so many stars that could get you. And maybe one week it's Papley, next week it's Gordon, the other week it's Heaney. But we all do ask the question, when is a slump going to happen? Because you can't be up here every single week long. A loss is eventually due. And I do feel like Adelaide are a genuine chance for a smoky tip here, given it's at home. They'd be breathing fire. Matty Nicks is under the pump. But he said himself that he likes the pressure he's been in. And I did hear also that they are expecting to get back in Isaac Rankine and Taylor Walker from injuries, so those are massive boosts to their side. It'd be hard to tip Adelaide with how they went last week. It was, again, a deplorable effort with just not much great decision making, and again struggling to move the ball out of their back half. But if you look at them from a last 8 or 7 or 6 week period, they are actually a top 4 side from points from turnover. It's just that they struggled to do it for a 4-quarter period, and they have just really massive inconsistencies in their game. But let's be honest, Walker and Isaac Rankine back into this forward setup for the Crows will massively boost their side and give them, I think, a lot more better decisions forward of centre. So there is that sneaky feeling that I could see a bit of an Adelaide upset here, but just with how the Swans are going at the moment, as I said before, for a 4-quarter period, they're just a really hard team to knock off at the moment. They're ticking every box. Their inside midfield game has been great, and they've been able to overrun midfield groups week in, week out. So I think Adelaide could push them for maybe 3 quarters, but in that final term, just with how the Swans are going, I expect them to run away and run them off their feet. So the Swannies will pick up the win here against the Crows. Bit of a tight and cagey affair, but the Sydney Swans will run away with it and win by 16 points. For the Sunday games now, first one up, we do have North Melbourne taking on the Pies at Marvel Stadium. It was great sights to see North finally pick up their first win of the season. I saw a lot of fans almost in tears and seeing reactions from across the country and how much it meant to those players. It was great to see. Joice Simpkin turned back the clock, coming back from injury, and was influential, especially in that second half. And George Wardlaw, geez, he's been under the radar this year as a rising star favourite for sure. So, as we always do say, when North are up and about, their midfield game can definitely challenge other teams. And still with no Mitchell and no 𝐷𝐿𝐻𝐿, it's a chance for maybe North to, for a quarter or two, try and win that centre clearance game and try and get on top in that midfield battle. But as much as how great it was to see North pick up their first win, it's hard to back them in twice in a row if you did tip them last week, given they are facing the Pies here. Team in really good form. They have only lost once since March. And even with all their injuries, they are still looking like a well-oiled machine. Defensively, I think they've been really good behind the ball. Now Kane Horn, I think, starting to improve and improve his numbers. So a pretty straightforward tip here. Going to be backing in the Pies, and they should win this one convincingly, and we'll go the Pies by 26 points. And for the final game of the round, an intriguing matchup here. We've got the Giants taking on Port Adelaide at Giants Stadium. Port coming off the bye, and there are massive questions on how they will go in the second half of the season, because the gap between their best and worst footy has been pretty evident this season. When Port Adelaide are versus sides that move the ball really well against them from end to end, they just get exposed defensively and exposed in a lot of one-on-one matchups, and especially against the Blues before their bye, they were just killed apart in the stoppage as that game did wear on. But they are expecting back Connor Rozee. Let's remember the first few weeks Rozee was looking like an All-Australian form, so it's a massive inclusion to their side. And when we look at the GWS with no 𝐼𝐴𝐿 and no Josh Kelly, they have been a side, I'd say, the last few weeks where they're looking like a bit more of a younger profile. So a team that's not at the peak of their powers, but a side when they have a good day, they can definitely punish any team in the competition. They were able to get a lot of their scores last week from defensive half, so they'll definitely need to try and bring that to the game here, because as we said earlier, when you really bring that slingshot style, it does expose Port Adelaide defensively quite a little bit. But even when Port Adelaide are in bad form and not playing the greatest amount of footy, they can just surprise you sometimes this side. It's a Sunday twilight game. They're not under the bright lights of primetime footy. They're away from Adelaide Oval. Something's just telling me that this is an against the grain tip I should be going. I don't know why I'm feeling Port Adelaide in this one. I think with Rozee back in and Horn, Francis and Butters have been awesome this year in their clearance game. They can probably do a number of that Giants midfield with no 𝐼𝐴𝐿 and also no Josh Kelly. And Tom Green's been a little bit under the weather, it feels like, too. Hasn't been at the tip-top of form too. So I'm expecting the Giants to be too good here for Port Adelaide at home, but I'm going to be going with the upset tip here, just feeling like a bit of an upset for the pair with their midfield. So all back in Port Adelaide here in a tight and cagey finish. I reckon we'll go Port by 7 points. So overall, they were my tips for round 14. Feel free to let me know what your tips are down below in the comments section. Always love to hear your people's opinions. Hopefully you did enjoy. Feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you did go on to enjoy today's video. And until next time, I will talk to you later. See you later, fellas.